lighting is super important. Can people not? You don't want to be like, in 5th grade, I got braces and then my life was changed and then I realized I wanted to be a dentist. Okay, now tip number 2 is, this is 4. I swear that is how I passed my pharmacy law boards. Just kidding, I'm a great pharmacist. Listen up now. Grab your notebooks and pens, get a little closer, even closer. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Notice anything new? Yes, we finally moved to our new apartment. The goal was real, guys, which isn't really saying much because our previous apartments were like kind of on the crappier side. Anyways, today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 7 tips for crushing a Zoom interview. So as we all know, Corona has upheaved our lives and basically changed every way of life possible. So you guys might be going on a lot of Zoom interviews from now on, whether it's for dental school, pharmacy school, jobs and internships, that kind of thing. And honestly, being a good interviewer in person or online is such an important strength to have. So I figured I'd give you my top 7 tips that honestly, I don't think anyone really tells you either, because you like Google this kind of stuff and everyone is like, make sure you have like good quality sound and like make sure you make good eye contact. Like, no, obviously those are good things to have. So comment down below on what is the best interview tip that you've ever gotten. Anyways, today I'm going to share with you guys the important tips that I think no one really talks about as much. Okay, so basically I'm going to separate these tips into the first half being general tips that are good for preparing for an interview, whether in person or not. And then the second half will be my Zoom specific tips. Okay, tip number 1, listen up now. Grab your notebooks and pens, get a little closer, even closer. Okay, I am going to tell you guys a little known secret. Because I made this up myself. But like, I really do think that this is like a hack that I discovered. You know that small talk question that you mostly get on like school interviews where people are like, oh, like, how long are you staying? Like, what do you plan on like doing while you're here? Or what do you plan on seeing? Plan a bomb answer for that, okay? Now listen why. Honestly, it is such an important indicator of your interest in the school. Even if you're not there for a while, just plan an answer like, oh, I have to leave today, but if given more time, I would have loved to check out X, Y, and Z. Now, why is this so important? To the point where I'm using these hand gestures? Like I said, this really shows your interest in the school, and it shows whether or not you put in the time and effort to imagine having a life there and see if you would be a good fit for the school. The school or job doesn't want someone that just showed up and was like, you guys asked for a dental student and I want to be a dental student, so. Like, no one is going to hire or accept you if you just have that type of an attitude. And I also like it because it's a fun little sneaky way to casually slip in like a fun fact about yourself that like makes you more personable. So for example, I would always like look up good, like super well-known restaurants in the area, and then I like never stayed for an interview like longer than 24 hours, honestly, because I had rotations. I would love to slip in like, oh my god, I like read online on Yelp all about like this one place's lasagna. I really hate how I said that. So like, think about your hobbies and interests and then look up popular attractions or like features for that in the area that you're around. I also love photography, and I would say like, oh my gosh, I could really see myself like as a dental student enjoying on the weekends and the spare time that I have, like partaking in photography of this certain area. You see what I mean? It's not as psycho as being like, accept me, I'm perfect here. But it is kind of like planting the seed in the interviewer's head for being like, oh, she would be a good fit here and she would enjoy her life here. She has put in the work to imagine her life here. The more they see you as being a potential member of the community, the better. Okay, general tip number 2. Here's my hack for being prepared for like basically any type of question that they could try to throw at you. Okay, so open up a Google Doc for each specific job or school that you're looking into, and then go to their like main page. They should have some type of like values list or like mission statement, something talking about like who they are and like what they're trying to do. And then write those traits down on a list. So for dental schools, it was really popular that they said that they were looking for like diversity and like service and integrity. Then you can look at your resume and like reflect on everything that you've done to get to this point and see what previous experiences that you've had exemplify those traits that they're looking for. The point is not to change yourself into what they want, but rather to highlight what you already have and what you've already done that exemplifies everything that they're looking for. You want to be what they're looking for. This tip is also important because you don't want to be in a situation where they ask a question and then you're like stumbling to remember your resume and you're like, okay, diversity, well, there was this one time that oh wait, no, start over. There's like this other time that I did this. Like, you don't want to be grasping for things last second. You want to be organized and concise and like ready to talk about something. Also, write down your thoughts, but be careful not to turn this into a script because you don't really want to seem too rehearsed, if that makes sense. Like, no one really wants a robot either. So just have those bullet points down, have those examples down of how you fit the company's or the school's mission, and then be ready to talk about them. Tip number 3, number 1 question that people always stumble on is actually the easiest one to answer. Well, theoretically it should be, but it's, so tell me about yourself. It's hard because A, it's open-ended, and B, to answer it really well and authentically, it kind of requires you to be a little vulnerable and share your truth. And to be honest, some of y'all don't really want to do that in an interview. So you clam up instead. So let me tell you how to approach this. You want to walk into an interview with a solid list of non-school related hobbies. And not only do you want to know those hobbies, you want to know why you love them. It's not enough to be like, I like painting, I like cooking. You have to know why. Like, what do they make you feel like? What is so satisfying about it to you? Know how to give depth to the answers to those questions. If possible, try to find a way to actually tie it into what you're interviewing for. So for example, for my dental school interviews, I would always talk about how much I loved cooking because I love the act of using my hands to create something, and I thought it was so satisfying building something from start to finish. I love the aesthetic component of it too. Kind of similar to dentistry. See what I mean? Like, it's kind of like a subtle way of slipping in and being like, hey, I'm like a really good fit for this job or career or profession because I like these traits anyways. And it shows that this is a career or school that I would be passionate about learning and working in. Ultimately, schools are looking for you to help enrich their class. They're not looking for some robot or another student ID number. They want someone that's going to be in the community, you know, having cool backgrounds and having cool talents to add to the class. And also, you want to be somewhere that values your hobbies and skills also. So that's why it's best to just lay it out on the interview. Not all out, there are definitely things you should not talk about, but that's why it's important to pre-plan talking about which hobbies and interests you have. Okay, so now it's time for my Zoom specific tips. Number 1, it might seem obvious, but it can really go a long way. Record a practice interview with someone else, because a lot of us actually do things when we're nervous or on screen that we're not even sure about. I didn't realize that I did this until I started recording YouTube videos. Or this. I really hate that I do this. Sometimes we repeat filler words that we're not even aware of over and over again. Yeah, so that's really cool. Yeah, no, legit so cool. Yeah, cool. 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 Sometimes we talk too fast and it's like a little bit, it's hard to understand.
So my greatest strength is that I have a really great personality and I'm really nice and I love to help people.
So the fact that you have the opportunity to do a Zoom interview is actually such an advantage because you can record ahead of time, see how you sound, see how you look, see how you act, and then adjust accordingly. Not like totally change your demeanor, but like kind of elevate yourself. Try to simulate it as much as you can to what you actually will be doing, so find the exact outfit you want, get the exact lighting that you will be at the exact time of day, and also test out multiple devices. See how Zoom interviews look on your laptop versus your iPad, because depending on how new something is, it might actually look better on a tablet. Also, I know everyone says this, but honestly, good lighting is super important. Can people not? Good lighting is so important to have to really make yourself look as presentable and polished as possible, so make sure that you are facing a window or facing some sort of natural lighting instead of having it behind you. You do not want to have a window behind you. I repeat, do not have a window behind you. Okay, now tip number 2 is one of the reasons why video interviews are so hard. You have to try not to interject. And this is because with video, you can't really fully read someone's body language the way that you normally could in person. Like, there's something about being in person that humans can pick up a little bit better on when to start speaking naturally in a conversation. Also, videos kind of tend to lag a little bit. So it's just really hard to sometimes tell when to start talking, and you don't want to be rude and potentially cut the interviewer off multiple times, or just like, when it's really awkward when you keep cutting each other off. Yeah, like, you don't want to have that. So to be safe, there's a couple of tips. 1, really try to focus on the screen when they're talking to at least kind of get as much body language info as you can. 2 is give yourself slightly, like a hair more time than you normally would to answer a question, just to like really make sure that they were finished talking. Don't wait too long to talk because that would also be super awkward too. Are you done? Yeah, I just asked the question. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you were done with what you were saying. Anyways, I've also heard that having headphones helps a little bit with video calls because there's less of a lag or echo. So do whatever you can, but this is also another reason why practicing is so important, because then you can kind of test out how much and how long you should be waiting before you respond. Okay, the next Zoom related tip is that body language and nonverbal cues are still super important. It's just that you're limited now to the screen and above. But yeah, make sure that you're not just like chin up and above, like try to have like at least like the chest and up, so that way it can feel like a natural conversation with someone. You want to sit up straight, but also relaxed. Not shoulders up to here, not slouch or anything like that. Just straight up, good posture, relax. Look into the camera when you're speaking, because that's like making eye contact while you speak. And then while the person is speaking, look at the screen. So that way you can read their body language. And every now and then you can like look back and forth from the camera and the screen. But make sure that you get comfortable with doing that so that it feels like a natural conversation to both you and to them when they're watching you. Now, this is a little tip that I like to do before big interviews or big exams or anything like that. I do what's called the Superman pose. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's like a scientific thing. Like you naturally get more confident and more endorphins or whatever from doing this position. So there's a couple of variations. I am a big fan of the Superman with the cape. So right before a big test, I take a deep breath in. I like say a positive thing to myself, like you're gonna crush it, you got it, queen. And then I extend my arms out, kind of like I'm flying like a cape, and like I puff my chest up. And something about the act of puffing your chest up and like doing this gives you like a little boost of relaxation, but also self-confidence. You can also try, a lot of people like to do the Superman pose by putting their hands on their hip like this and puffing their chest out. Both stances kind of give you the same thing, but it really does make a big difference. I swear that is how I passed my pharmacy law boards. Just kidding, I'm a great pharmacist. Also, I mentioned this a little bit before, but you want to make sure that you practice but don't seem rehearsed. Like you don't want to feel like a robot, like you're reading off a script or rattle off a story like it's the 10th time you've told it and not give any sort of oomph behind it, you know? You want to be like real and authentic when you're talking to the screen and to the camera. What I mean is, you know, use your human social sense to kind of think about when it would be natural to, when you're telling a story, stop and pause and think. Stop and pause and like give some sort of an expression, like a facial expression. Add things that make it feel like you're telling the interviewer a story, because you are and you should be interacting with them. What I mean by that is like, hit them with like a right every now and then, you know? So like every 18-year-old, I really wanted to do this, right? Probably thinking XYZ, right? Because remember, at the end of the day, it is a real person that is across from that screen watching you, right? And see what I did there? I feel like it adds just a component of like conversation to your interview. You don't want to be like, in 5th grade, I got braces and then my life was changed and then I realized I wanted to be a dentist. Okay, and last but not least, just wear the freaking pants. I know that video interviews give you an excuse to not wear pants, but it's gonna feel hella awkward if you're not wearing pants, even if you're wearing like gym shorts like I am right now. Gym shorts are great for filming YouTube videos, but not when you're trying to add that element of like feeling like it's the real deal, right? You want at least some adrenaline in you. Also, chances are you're probably filming in like your childhood bedroom or like, you know, someplace that you feel a little too comfortable with, for example. So you want to, like I said, sit up straight, have your full fancy professional outfit, full professional accessories, all that kind of stuff, and make it as real as possible. Now, dressing for interviews is really tricky. I'm making a video on how healthcare professional students can dress for things like clinical rotations, conferences, networking, happy hours, things like that. But if you guys want, I can also make a video on how to dress for interviews, because it kind of is a specific skill to it. And it really does make a big difference on interviews, whether Zoom or not. So let me know down below if you're interested in seeing that. Okay, so those are my top 7 tips for crushing your Zoom interview or in-person interview, no matter what you're doing. That is how you get the job or get into the school, my friends. Comment down below on what is the best interview tip that you've ever gotten. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. And like the video if you like what you saw also. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys later.